Welcome to Entreprogrammers Podcast, the podcast for developreneurs, the podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
All right, we're live.
We are live.
Yay,
John, I saw a headline that it might hit 119 degrees in San Diego. Is that?
Maybe in the like in the central, like off the coast. Like I don't think it's going to hit 119 on the coast. I can't imagine that.
Okay.
So it's always like maybe like 10 degrees cooler on the coast. So
it's only 109 then, huh?
That would still be pretty crazy, but
it's all global warming.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been pretty insane here. It's been mid 90s with a pretty good heat index, very close to 100. So,
oh yeah,
humidity's fun. Yeah.
How is Ireland? Ireland is cold.
No, Ireland was not cold.
Really?
I got a suntan. I'm actually like Ireland. They were having a 100-year heat wave while I was there. I mean, that might be a slight exaggeration, but it was 80 degrees and sunny and humid the whole time I was there.
What?
And yeah, it was crazy.
Global warming.
Like, the local, there you go. The locals hadn't seen anything like it. They were just completely floored, and it was dead calm. Like usually the ocean there. And I was in Western Ireland, and the wind pretty frequently gets up to 70 miles an hour, like hurricane force, and you'll get waves like smashing into the rocks and shooting like 200 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And it was just like dead flat calm.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very unusual. I got quite a sunburn actually. But yeah, it was really, really good. It was basically it was like a spiritual retreat. So we spent most of our time in kind of like the non-touristy places, lots of time in we stayed overnight on the Great Blasket Island, which is this uninhabited island. They've got a hostel there. There used to be a settlement there 100 years ago, but people have moved out because it's just the weather's so extreme. But so we spent the night on this deserted island and then hiked the full length of it. So it was like 4 miles. It was just incredible. It was so beautiful, so peaceful. So it was like like kind of an experience of a lifetime. I had a really, really good time.
Nice.
Just kind of unplugging and my phone kind of worked, but kind of didn't, which was a bit of a blessing. So I was able to stay in contact with my family, which was really all I wanted to do. But
who did you go with?
It was Perry Marshall he took a group of 10 people. Yeah. So it was him and his son, and then just like 10 members from his group that were interested. So it was basically like it's like a no cost, like and we paid for it, but he wasn't like a profit making type of venture. So we basically just paid cost to be there, and it was a lot of fun. We went to some caves and saw lots and lots of sheep. Oh my gosh. Yes. The sheep. I could not believe it. It was like there were like even flying into Dublin Airport. I was pretty shocked because you're flying into an airport in the biggest city in the country, and like 10 seconds before you touch down, it's like sheep. So, but yeah, so we it was crazy because we were driving on a lot of back roads, and they were literally like the roads in Ireland, in Western Ireland, they don't have a lot of like highway. They don't have a highway grid. It's mostly just like these little tiny point-to-point roads. And we were literally driving, 50 miles an hour on two gravel strips with grass in the middle.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's like a 1-lane. It's a 1-lane unpaved road, and and people drive like maniacs there. I found out that your insurance, like the insurance you can get on your credit card for driving, does not cover, specifically excludes Ireland.
Yeah, it does. Yep. Or it's like some of it is like it depends on like you can't go off any unpaved roads or anything. Like there's like these super strict conditions because.
Yeah, well, at one point we were trying to get to a beach, and Perry drove down this. He like turned onto the side road, and we drove all the way down it, and it was like a single lane road, and there's like stone fences on either side, and we get to the end, and there's like no turnaround, it's like dead ends. We're like,
gonna back up.
Well, we're gonna be backing up here. So,
it used to be. I heard it was even worse before they joined the EU. Like. It was like ridiculous because they got a ton of money for infrastructure, like to upgrade the roads. But it used to be the entire country was like all those kind of roads. So
yeah, and the roundabouts there are insane. Like there's a roundabout, like almost every intersection is a roundabout.
Yeah, exactly. It's all
which is pretty cool. We saw the most bizarre thing though. The first roundabout that we came to actually had traffic signals at each of the 4 spokes. Yeah. Which to me like defeats the whole. That's the whole. It's like, that's like a brilliant way to introduce a new form of gridlock. But yeah, it was really interesting because most of the people there, there's really not much economically going on other than it seems like most of the people subsist on 4 or 5 different little income streams, which is pretty interesting from kind of like an anti-fragile perspective. Mm-hmm. They've got like almost every house seems to be a bed and breakfast. Not real. That's not an exaggeration. Everybody's got sheep. Everybody seems to have some kind of little handcraft type thing that they do, like an Etsy type of, they make shawls or they make penny whistles or something like that. And then they've got maybe some other job like that we would consider more of a normal job. And then between all these things, they kind of cobble together their livelihood.
Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, so yeah, it was really cool. I'm definitely glad to be back. I had a very bizarre. On the way out, I took what airline was it? Wow Airline, and it was like this. It was like the cheapest option. I don't know why I did that, but I did, and I landed in Iceland, and that was really bizarre because the Iceland airport. The employees were in no hurry. They had we landed and 150 people get off the plane and I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in like 18 hours or something. And the so I there's 2 places you can get food. Both of them have one person working at the counter, like one surly looking teenager, and a line of like 50 people waiting. And they were just taking their time. they had nowhere to go. Yeah, and then there was no they walked us out, so it was the plane was delayed like 2 hours, and so they shuffled us all off to this little tiny tin box of a waiting room. There was no gate or anything where you could sit down. They just put us all in this waiting room for and we stood there for an hour, and then they brought a bus over. And they started bussing people out like a mile and a half onto the tarmac.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, there you go, and we're walking up the steps. It was pretty bizarre. But Iceland I would kind of like to visit there. You spent some time there, right, John?
Yeah, I was there for a month. Iceland
I flew into Reykjavik, and it was coming in. It was really beautiful. It was the whole landscape was pool table flat. Basically just gravel, and then with a little bit of tufts of lichen and stuff growing up between it. And then off in the distance, you could see what looked like the Rocky Mountains, because I guess maybe the northern part is mountainous. But
there was this little thing I saw. I don't know if it's around anymore. It was like Iceland or Mordor, and it had all these pictures, and you had to guess which one. But yeah, right around Reykjavik Airport, it's all lava rock, and it's just this cool looking landscape. So
I had the weirdest experience flying there. So I leave Pittsburgh. I flew out at around. So I got to the airport at 5. My flight was to leave at 7, and it gets dark here around 9:30. So, and the flight was going to be about 6 hours. So I I couldn't sleep. Like I'd had some caffeine, and I can't usually sleep on a plane. And there was a very large woman next to me in the seat, so I was like squeezed up against the window. So 9:30 rolls around. We're like somewhere over northern Canada, and the sun's finally starting to set. So I pull my shade down, try to sleep, and then I finally got frustrated. And like an hour and a half later, or 2 hours later, I looked at my phone. And it was like 11:30. I was like, oh crap. So I pulled up the blind and it was light again. The sun had come up in 2 hours. It was bizarre. And it was somehow the sun had come up in the same place that it set. So it was still in my eyes.
Yeah.
I do not understand the geography of how that went down, but it was really, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. When I worked in Alaska one summer when I was in college, it was over the summer, right? And so, yeah. We had blackout curtains because it didn't get dark. Yeah, you'd see the sun go down just on the one edge of the canyon, and then a couple hours later, it would come up on the other side of the canyon.
In Ireland,
and then what I mean is like if you make your hands into the V that would be the canyon.
Yeah.
This side and then this side, right? Not the other end of the canyon, like the other slope of the canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only dark for about 3 or 4 hours in Ireland at this time of year. So it was like it would get dark around 11:30. The sun would go down around like 10 or 10:30, but it wouldn't actually get dark until around 11, and then around 4 o'clock the sun would come up again. One thing I can recommend for jet lag, though, is staying up 36 hours straight, because you'll sleep no matter where you are if you do that.
When I went on my mission to Italy, we were basically in airports and airplanes for about 24 hours. And yeah, they made us stay up because we landed in the morning, and they made us stay up until that evening and then go to bed. And we were so tired that, we slept, and then it just reset our clocks. That makes sense.
Yeah, coming back has been actually pretty rough. It was weird because I was only there for a week, but it took me, I kept waking up at all week. I've been waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning here. So I think I'm finally back to normal, but it took about a week.
Oh, well, that sounds like fun.
It was fun. Very glad I got to go.
I like to travel. My wife has a couple places that she wants to travel, but she's mostly a homebody.
That was a week is a little bit long for me. I was by Friday, I was just like, I'm so done with this. I just want to come home. It was about 4 days is my limit right now.
Yeah, try 3 months.
Yeah,
I'd
love to actually. Take the family and go.
It was pretty crazy though when we did. Like, I've done shorter ones since then. That one long one though, the 3 months, like with like 8 different places, was just, by the end of that, it's like, okay.
Uncle.
Yeah.
Tapping out.
Yeah.
So did I miss anything interesting?
Were you not here last week either?
I was not here last week either.
Because I was in southern Utah with my family, and I just didn't make it.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think. I guess it was just Manny and I last week. What we were talking about. He's working on some big deals. We were talking about his thing with the Focus at Will, and like just trying to get one of those promotions done so that you can get some of those big ones. Basically, like the top 100. Your dream 100 is what he needs to go. Or actually, his dream 10 that he needs to go after. But and then I started waking up at 5:30 every morning and going for a run and doing Pomodoro technique again. So that's been good. I've been productive. So I switched the YouTube channel over to Bulldog Mindset. So I'm going with that. And
I saw that pop up.
Yeah. So
very cool. Oh, well, yeah. So last week I didn't have anything to report because I just was gone all week. But I did. So over the last few weeks, I've landed a bunch of sponsors to the point now where I'm actually, when I talk to potential sponsors about sponsoring, they'll bring up JavaScript Jabber, and I'll basically tell them, well, if this company picks this up, it's full.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so starting to spill over now into my JavaScript story and my Angular story. Ruby Rogues is almost full, and so I'm also starting. I think I have one sponsor on the React and Vue shows, and some of these sponsors are talking about doing that now. So the biggest thing for me at this point is just continuing to do the follow up, and one of the companies, DigitalOcean, we worked things out through a marketing agency that they hired, who incidentally is based in Salt Lake. So I keep talking to them about coming up and having lunch with them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. But anyway, and that was one of the ones. So it was a fairly big order because they ordered across a whole bunch of shows. But JavaScript Jabber, they took so long to come back and tell me that they wanted it that somebody else picked up Sentry.
Nice.
Picked up the spot that I had offered them.
Nice.
So I had to come back and I said, look, I said, for that same price, I said, I'll put you on the post roll of my JavaScript story and JavaScript Jabber, which is actually a better deal for them because they get double the exposure, and the pricing on those is actually, between the two, it's higher. If I double it up. So anyway, I haven't heard back from them yet, but they want a number of statistics that I don't gather yet. And so they've kind of pushed me so that I'm working on finishing up a lot of the stuff I have to do for the podcast app for Podwrench.
That's cool.
So I will probably have a workable beta by the end of next week. And
on the statistics part of it.
Well, it'll have the statistics, the feed management, the content management, and all of the sponsor end of things, so that the sponsors can look at stuff. And then all I have to do is hook in a few more things, and it'll be pretty much ready for my co-hosts to help manage the content, for guests to put their information into it, and for me to actually create, because right now I have podcast networks, and so the podcast network page is up, and I'm going to add some other stats to it once I have stats running. But then the other thing is then I can also create an agent and basically agency pages. So I can, you can add me as an agent on your show, and then I can send people to my agency page and create packages and stuff like that. So anyway, it should be interesting to see how that works out. But I've got a number of podcasters that want me to sell sponsorship on their podcasts, and I haven't had the time to manage all that and keep track of it. And so if I can build this system in so that it just does that automatically, then the only piece I'll have to figure out from there is paying out. So, when they when they run so many shows, then I pay them out. And so I've got to figure out a system for that. And I've talked to a few companies like John Lindquist, who does Egghead.io, and a few other folks. When they do their payouts, most of them still do it manually. So they're either printing checks or they're using some system that does a debit to whatever account. So
it's pretty easy to use PayPal mass payments if you've never used that before. Like, it's literally just a CSV a tab file with dollar amount, currency, or currency amount, currency, and then email address. And so if you could just print a report, that would be a stopgap, an easy stopgap until you versus building a whole system.
I could require them to use PayPal, but not everybody does or wants or likes to.
True. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not 110% sold on that, but I'll probably wind up doing something like that. And for the initial, hey, look, we're just figuring this out, and we may offer other options later, that might be good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, otherwise you're gonna have to set up ACH, which opens up a huge can of worms, right? So now you've got bank information that you've got to protect and everything. So,
yeah. Well, a lot of these folks, they use a third-party service to manage that stuff. And so all that information's in there, and then they're responsible for securing it.
I'm trying to think. I can't think of every instance where we have set up bank account payments. It's been enter your routing number and checking account number. So you're saying that's stored on a third party, maybe?
Yeah, so you use their API and you set them up as a vendor in the third-party system, and then basically the way that these companies do it is they run a report every month, and the report says, here's who you've got to pay and here's how much you owe them, and so then you just go into that system and do whatever you do.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes, but it's not an issue until somebody else starts booking sponsorships through the system.
Right.
In which case, I'm also then going to have to go set up another bank account for the podcast app. Because right now, if you pay through that system, it just goes straight into DevChat. Which, fair enough. I'm the only one using it right now. But anyway. So yeah, so that's going to be the big push here. But the other thing is that if I can get the couple of people that I'm talking to all land their sponsorships, the ones that really look like they're likely to be able to land it, then I will have enough money in the bank for like 3 or 4 months, and so then I can actually turn around and start booking things out for longer and focusing on some of the other stuff that I want to focus on. So
nice. Do you know what's your fill rate right now?
Let me look.
Curious what your little dashboard shows. Hopefully you're still getting lots of likes.
Likes?
Yeah, your dashboard had the likes, like the filler. You had like thousands of likes on your dashboard because it was just boilerplate from whatever framework you're using.
So it looks like I broke the dashboard.
Okay, well,
it's not working right now, so I'll have to see what the deal is there.
But that's pretty cool. If you're starting to get the scarcity element going where you're like selling out, that's really encouraging.
If I had to guess, I was running about 25-30% before.
I thought it was 30. Yeah.
I would guess that I'm probably at 40 to 50% now.
Nice. That's pretty significant.
Or at least over the next 3 months. So
very cool.
But yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on. And I'll tell you though that 1 week break, because I didn't do anything. I think I answered 2 emails, and it was because Michelle texted me and said, "Hey, this person's trying to line this up." Right. Funny enough, one of them was I got a message from somebody from Progress or Telerik.
Oh, okay.
And Telerik has 2 product lines that they kind of push, and one of them is Kendo UI, and the other one is NativeScript and all of the build tools for NativeScript. And NativeScript is free. It's kind of like React Native, except you can use the other frameworks on it. And they actually have solid bindings for Vue and Angular. It's funny because I asked them about React, and they were like, well, we haven't really focused on React, which is fair because then they'd have to compete with React Native for the React community. The other ones they kind of just nail down for free. You can use Ionic with Angular, but that's Cordova, and if you want native, then you have to go with NativeScript. But anyway, so they reached out and they said, so we want to sponsor on behalf of NativeScript. Can you tell us, what sponsorship arrangements we've done in the past? And so I emailed the guy back, and I'm like, well, actually, you guys already sponsor 3 of the shows ongoing basis.
Nice.
And so he's like, oh, well, we want to sponsor, so I might be getting budget from a separate marketing department within the same company.
Right. There you go.
But I'm already set up as a vendor, so accounts payable could just send me another check. But yeah, it was pretty funny. I was like, yeah, well, actually, this is who I've been talking to over there, and this is what we've got set up. And he's like, oh, well,
what you can do is start a bidding war. Well, we'll preempt the other Telerik ads for you if you just increase.
Well, that was the thing that was funny was that so the Telerik ad, I mean, they are competing because they wanted to be on JavaScript Jabber, but JavaScript Jabber is basically full at this point, especially if DigitalOcean picks up the post roll on JavaScript Jabber instead of the mid roll, which I filled with Sentry. So yeah, I was like, yeah, let's put you on the other show. But anyway,
That's pretty cool.
but yeah, it's been pretty interesting just to see it all work out, you know. I've been chasing a lot of this stuff for a while, so we'll see how it goes. I've also had another company reach out to me about sponsoring, but they're also more interested in not just sorry, I got a text message and it popped up on my computer for some reason. But they're not just interested in podcast sponsorship, but they also want to send messages to the list and things like that.
Okay.
And that was something that I had talked about a few weeks ago about wanting to offer. So I may actually pull a package together for them and say, you know, this is what we're looking at. So
Cool.
But yeah, that's what I've been dealing with lately. I'm probably going to be up all night tonight, though, finishing off that system. And then I'm landscaping my yard tomorrow. So
Nice. John, I haven't heard. Did you hear back on the TV show audition?
Yes and no. Like I did so many different tapings for them over Skype. So like we did that like I guess was it last week? Yeah, I guess last week. And then oh no, it was a week before when that had ended. And then they submitted me to the network. So then I'd messaged the casting producer there, and I said, hey, you know, what's the next steps? What's going on? And she's like, oh yeah, we're submitting you to network, but we have 2 more weeks of casting for the show. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know, it's like basically somewhere between like a 1 in 5 and 1 in 10 chance. So not the best odds, but it's still would, you know, it's still pretty feasible. So probably that means that I'll hear back potentially like sometime next week.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, since I hadn't heard anything, that it was a no-go, but
yeah, I mean,
you're still in the running.
I'm considering it a no-go at this point, just because that's like, I'm not gonna like hold my breath on it. So
Right.
but we'll see what happens.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
How's your are you still doing 1 video a day then?
Yeah, we're releasing 1 video a day, but I don't know, like the stats show that it's actually detrimental to do 1 a day as opposed to the 2 a day. So yeah, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it. I want to run a test of doing 3 a day. I've tried 1. But I got to talk to Rodrigo about that and see if he could handle 3, because he's been doing since it's been 1 a day, he's been doing more editing, like more in-depth editing.
Yep.
So I'd have to figure out some way to do that, you know, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the trade-off is worth it or not. I like what he's doing with the editing, but maybe we do one where, like, I don't know, where one of them is edited really well and the other ones are not. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. But
yeah, he's been around between 35 and 40 hours, it looks like, already, with the extra editing. So
yeah, okay. But yeah, it's the channel, definitely the growth has slowed down. I mean, it's switching the audience is tough. So we'll see though.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of growth, that reminds me of one other thing that I wanted to just briefly mention. I was complaining about Blueberry for the podcast stats.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
And I had somebody who was listening to the show basically say that they saw the same drop off at the same time. On
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I don't know. I just want it to all to be transparent, and it's really frustrating that it's not. But yeah, so it probably wasn't me. It was probably, or the shows. It was probably Blueberry that changed something.
Yeah, so they changed the way they were calculating something.
Yep.
Ahrefs did that recently with their like about 6 months ago with all their rankings, and they did like this big lead up campaign, like, do not panic. Your score will probably drop significantly. It doesn't mean anything. Do not panic.
Well, they told you that up front, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they told us for like a couple weeks, at least a month ahead of time. So they don't divulge the details on how they calculate the ranking, but they're like told us how they were recalculating it and what factors they were adding in and everything. So
yeah.
So there was communication.
Right. So you could look at it, and even if you didn't pay attention to any of their emails,
right,
you could get in and look it up and say, why did my domain rank drop or whatever, and figure out pretty fast, oh, this is what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe Blueberry discovered a bug that someone had typed *2 after some critical calculation.
Maybe.
But, cool. Well, we are. I was telling John before the recording started. Our net income for July so far in product sales is $79.
Oh wow!
So yeah, we're definitely seeing something happen here. So I was talking to this guy. So there's a guy in Ireland that I met named Gene, and Gene runs he's got a business. He sells training for basically like blue collar jobs. So like plumbers, electricians. He started with gunsmithing actually, and he's branched out into plumbers, electricians, painters. And so his customer is like a contractor that can't find enough workers, so they'll buy his $5,000 program and then train all their people. And so they've got a fresh crew for some jobs, and instead of trying to hire people that already have the skills. Mm-hmm. So he was telling me that I was asking him like if he ever sees any kind of like weird fluctuations based on the economy. And he was like, oh, let me tell you. He's like, the day that Trump was inaugurated, his business dropped by 90%.
Really?
Oh, really?
And it has stayed down ever since. He's had to reorganize, cut a lot of staff. Like, yeah, it basically, so yeah, I think in his case, it was, people were less, his crowd was less worried about their future than they had been prior to Trump being elected.
Interesting, huh?
So I'm actually thinking that the biggest problem that we're seeing with our sales is that the economy has recovered. The economy is going really strong right now, in the U.S. especially, and most of our, like probably 80 or 90% of our revenue comes from the U.S. And so I was reading an article yesterday that there's now an employment, like there's a hiring crisis where companies are like, there's so many jobs available, they can't fill them. And so I think like it's been that way in tech for a long time. Mm-hmm. Like tech never got to 10% unemployment. It probably got to, I don't know, 5 or 6% during the downturn. But now it's basically like, I think that there's just, people are not really focused on they're not worried about their future at this point, and so the urgency is not there. And I'm definitely seeing this with our members too, like the people that are signing up. What I haven't been able to get my hands around is like some kind of urgent problem that we can help people fix, that they really want to fix now.
Yeah.
We have a lot that we can do for people long term, but there's I haven't been able to really nail down anything that is an urgently felt problem right this minute that they just have to get resolved. And I think the combination of John stepping back and then just generally the economy being probably people are not having as much trouble finding work. That it's taken a lot of the urgency off of because we haven't. I was reflecting on this, that we haven't, John. We started selling products in what was it, 2014, John, or?
When we started selling products.
Yeah. When did you launch How to Market Yourself? It was like 2014, I think.
It might have even been 13. Yeah.
So
all I heard was that Josh and the Democrats are all now praying for a downturn.
No, not really. But we haven't.
You're with Bill Maher.
Yeah. But we haven't. This is the strongest economy that we've seen since we started selling products at Simple Programmer. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So I think that is a significant factor here.
Yeah.
One thing I've been thinking about is like I really feel like the biggest wins here would be on the corporate side, because if developers are not feeling the pain, it's companies that are feeling the pain trying to hire the developers. And that's probably for right now, probably where there's more money to be had in this whole setup.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a combination of things going on. I think you're right. It's the economy, but I think it's also just the shift. I think, like I said, I think the most powerful effect is the Udemy effect, which is basically the whole courses are $10. This is what a course costs, and I can search and find this on Udemy for sure. So that hurts the pricing model for sure. And then also just the whole like marketing techniques are changing again. People have seen, even developers were the last ones to see the long form sales page.
Right.
Now they're seeing it, right? And to get email sequences and they're being hit by this. So I think that more and more people are aware of those kind of tactics, which again, I mean, it doesn't mean that we can't sell things. It just means that we might have to adjust prices and have higher end and lower end stuff. Like I feel like what we might want to, we might want to try some things. One thing I was thinking about too is I hate to like volunteer this, but maybe we should make a complete software developer's career guide video course like we were talking about. and go through the whole thing, because that's like so many people that buy the book, buy the audio version, and they'd probably buy the video version of this too, where we just have a lot of like we can figure out how to structure it, but I think that could be a good revenue stream, is like from because we're selling how many copies of the book every month now. It's like at least a couple thousand, I think, like at least 1,000. So
plus the free reads.
Yeah, well, you can add in, you've read the book. Now, if you want, video content training on these topics.
Yeah, exactly.
You already know the people who are willing to spend money because they're interested in the topic.
And the thing about that is it doesn't have to be very salesy to like, I mean, it's not like to me, like if you've already bought the book, it's more of a next step type of
it's
thing.
hey, do you want more? Here's more.
Yeah. But the other thing we could do is just try also lowering the prices on like some of the
okay, so here's what I'm like kind of thinking about right now. I'm leaning towards going back to the publisher model that we've talked about a number of times. I really think that
getting other people to make courses for you, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, actually what I'm going to start with, so I'm thinking that I think what I'm going to try and experiment here. I reached out to a guy who has the best-selling data structures and algorithms course on Udemy.
Yep.
And I'm trying to license his course from him. So
the same one that he has on Udemy?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we can throw a few $1,000s at one of these courses, basically buy the rights to it, and then just resell it on our site, I can sell it for $9 instead of 11. So, and then I think I could pretty easily, like, so if I can get this course, say for like $5,000, if I can get the unlimited rights to this course for $5,000, I'm pretty sure I can launch it and make 20.
Yeah.
And what I would do would be to make the upsell, have on the back end, have an upsell of the membership, which would the more, like, basically the more of these I have, I would basically include all of them in the membership. So
Right.
as soon as so like if I have 10 courses and they'd all be soft skills focused. So it wouldn't be, not going to do any more technical stuff, I don't think, like JavaScript Launchpad, but just be really upfront. This is the Udemy course, you know, like you can get it for $9. And then when you go to checkout, upsell them on getting a membership for $99, which gets you the membership community and gets you access to the other courses that I've negotiated. That would be a pretty sweet deal, I think. And it would compound over time. And each of those $99 signups are actually worth probably close to $200 in the long term. So we'd be doing the blogging workbook model where we sell, you know, the low price thing on the front end and then upsell to what I really want to sell, which is the membership.
Yeah.
You should name the membership after yourself, Josh. It'll be perfect.
So on Tuesday, I'm doing another push to try to get more members into the community. I'm at 90 so far. I've gotten 93 signups so far. And then so far I've gotten about 12 either refunds or unsubscribes from that. So we're still figuring out what the stick rate's going to be, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping if I can get 50 new people in this month, then I probably will be able to do 30 to 50 per month for a while, and it should grow nicely. But I really need to get it up to like 300 or 400 members, because that's where right now I'm having to do a lot of the interaction myself, and it's still going, like it's still fairly active, but I need more it seems like about 20 of the 90 or so people are pretty active.
Yeah.
So I really need to get that to like 100 active people, and then it should be pretty self-sustaining.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah, I've definitely I feel like I've been fighting, definitely feel like I'm fighting the market. Like the market clearly wants lots and lots of courses for $10. It's really hard to fight that trend.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's true.
I think the community will be more beneficial long term, but I think it's going to be much easier to sell people on the courses initially and upsell them to the membership. Basically sell them the course and then access to more courses to get them into the membership. And then once they're in, get them involved in the community. And I think that they'll stick.
Yeah, I think that's true. And then I think also at that point, then it's easier to sell to the community as well. Right. You can create products for them. Yeah, I was thinking about it too, like the whole, personality driven, right? A lot of the success. When I initially launched How to Market Yourself as a Software Developer, the list was like 3,000 people, 4,000 people. And I did like a $25,000 launch on the list, right? Yeah. But it was because it was just like, it was people that were my fans, right? That were buying that thing. And as we've grown and, especially now with me completely removed from it, it's not it's much harder to sell against that. But if you have a community and they're members of a community, then they've got that tribe, right? So it's like the reason why I was able to sell so easy back then was because it was my tribe, right? And I was actively involved in people, right? And now we need a new tribe. Otherwise, we're just like some random, person in your emails, trying to sell you something. So if we build the tribe, for sure.
Yeah, and I've been doing emails, like a lot of emails promoting the community and talking, like trying to get people on the waiting list, and the click-through rate is like painfully low. That's why I'm thinking that this selling the courses like this is probably a better bet. I'm thinking what I'll do is launch them at $9. Like I'll keep them in the store, but they'll be priced at probably like $29.
Yeah.
And then periodically I'll pull one off the shelf, and I can re-offer it at $9. But that way I'm continually offering new stuff. So if I don't get people about data structures and algorithms, maybe I'll get them about, interviewing or something about resume prep or whatever. And the reason I like this model is it's relatively low effort. Like I'm committed to doing the daily emails, so I'm going to do those no matter what. Mm-hmm. This gives, that way I have gives me something to write about. And we're not creating content really. I mean, we're repurposing existing, stuff that people have, and the courses are really freaking good. I mean, they're like 20 hours, and people have put like, possibly thousands of hours into developing these courses and updating them and everything. So they're, it's like if somebody spends 1,000 hours developing one course that they're offering for $10,
yeah,
like that's pretty hard to compete with. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. That would be good if I think that strategy works.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna try to do, if I don't get this, basically this guy wanted $9,000 to license his course, and I was like, that's too much. I told him that I would do $5 per course, $5 per sale rather, on like a launch as an option. So it would be basically like an affiliate, like our standard affiliate deal, basically.
Yeah.
For the launch, and I'd probably make it like 14 days or something like that, and then we'd own the rights after that. What I don't want to get into is a situation where I like have to pay people ongoing, and especially with the fact that this is a membership, that gets really sticky. So I just wanted like a clean. I actually listened to that. Manny had given us that link to that guy, who he told us about a couple weeks ago, where the guy like managed to get himself out of his personality business.
Yeah.
And the main takeaway that I got from that was like paying, because he kind of did what we'd been planning to do. He was in the martial arts space, and he basically just brought in other experts and started making courses and funnels around them. But the biggest takeaway was like just paying these guys a flat fee. He'd pay them like twice their hourly rate. They were martial arts instructors, and they don't make anything.
Right.
So he'd pay them like twice their hourly rate plus a bonus to come in and record all the video, and then he owned it free and clear. And that's the position that I'd like to be in with this.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the accounting gets be a pain.
I agree. Yeah. The
accounting would get ugly. I mean, I can only imagine what Pluralsight goes through every time. Of course, they probably wrote themselves a little.
Yeah, they've got a whole software system to manage the whole thing, so it's probably not so bad. But they're actually looking at consumption, and then figuring out royalties based on that. So that's
it's built into their whole system.
Pretty big hairball, but they're still paying flat fees up front to create the content too. So, but yeah, so we'll see. I think I'm going to do just a straight up doors open kind of promotion next week, and then next month I think I will do some kind of $9 course offer and just compare the results on that. Because if I could sell 1,000 $9 courses, the chances of getting a 10% upgrade to the $99 membership are pretty good.
Yeah.
The chances of me being able to do a 200 or 300 person enrollment in the membership are basically zero at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
Yeah, it might be good too, like with the membership, maybe like I said, I think I could see a video course for the Complete Software Developer's Career Guide. But aside from that, one thing we could do is just make it all focused on the membership, So like take all the leads that go from there and basically advertise that there's an online community for other, for this book essentially, and then get them, pitch that. That might be a good way, because we've got all those people purchasing the book. We don't have them funneled very well. I'd like to take I think most of the links in the book are not effective, so it'd be better to take like a lot of links out and then have it all funneled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
We'll crack it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now I was just thinking, it's so weird though. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, things have gone down on the product side, but there's really not much of a difference between doing, $50,000 a month of revenue and 100,000. Like, there's no reason why that we shouldn't be able to operate at that higher level. It's just a matter of like, I guess what I'm saying is that the difficulty is not much more. It's just, why is it at this amount? It has to do with the traffic, right? Like, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, it has to do with the traffic and finding a good offer. Like right now, our revenue has not gone. This is okay. I've been bitching about this for months. Our revenue really hasn't gone down at all.
Right.
Because basically what happened was the book revenue came in. So basically what's working for us right now, book and sponsorships. What's not working anymore is products. Basically the book has completely replaced the products in terms of almost completely replaced the product income that we were getting. So which is frustrating because, it would have been really nice additional revenue, but our revenue's basically been flat and the product revenue has dropped off by about 50%. So that's what kind of got me thinking about this publisher model again, was that the book has worked really well. And the affiliate offers have worked pretty well too. Like, interview cake this time was about half as effective as last time, but that's still pretty darn good. So if I can hit, I think that a big barrier on that one was $99 is still a pretty high price point. So if we can if I can have a nice steady stream of offers that are fire sale level, I think we could do 15 or 20K a month in
affiliate
a promotion. Well, like a promotion, like we could do a promotion that's 15 or 20K a month if we are able to license the courses like that.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's still a way here. It's kind of weird, but like that's the thing that's scary though, is because the revenue is being replaced by other things, and the one like that, the book revenue is great, but it's controlled by Amazon, so that's one thing that's like kind of dangerous about it. And then again, sponsorships could be like a lot of that is centralized on one sponsor, right? That's paying us a lot of money. So those are things that are scary to. Yeah, but we have a huge list which is growing, so we just have to figure out some of the right offers to make to it. That's where I keep thinking too. Like, I don't know, maybe what I need to do is like just buckle down and you should have me do the Complete Software Developer Career Guide video course and just record a bunch of videos on it, because it'd be pretty easy to do, I think, since it'll be basically just talking about the chapters and like, building a small roadmap that's going to like, go through the chapters of the course in a video format, adding extra information and in details on that. And then like launching that, I think could do well, right? I could see a 6-figure launch on something like that.
I honestly don't have any idea anymore. I'm reluctant to put that much work into anything right now. Like, I'm reluctant to put that much work into anything until I see the trend line reversing. It's like everything I do is like a step down from the last thing I did. And that's like, I don't really want to spend 3 months working on something and then find out, oh, $10,000. Like, you know what I mean? So that's kind of why I want to try some of these longer or these small. Like if I can't make 10 or 20K selling a $9 course, then we're going to have to really rethink things.
Yeah, I will say, though, that you guys seem to have a lot of flexibility on a lot of this stuff. I mean, for right now, at least, you know, the book sales are more or less on autopilot, right?
Yes.
Amazon just, you know, sells it for you and sends you a check. The sponsorships, I mean, unless you're out actively doing sales, you know, if you're getting more or less automatic renewals, that's mostly on autopilot too. So you do have the flexibility to try new things.
Right.
And you also seem to be flexible enough to say, oh, let's try this, let's try that. Okay, this isn't working anymore. Let's go in this direction. And so, I mean, I can see the frustration that what you did in the past didn't work. But ultimately, what we're talking about is, okay, where can we pivot to next to, you know, increase our reach and increase the revenue base? Yep. And so you really are in a good position. I
agree.
I do hear the frustration, though, that, oh, this worked forever and now it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, some too, I think it's the dating of the courses too on how to market yourself in 10 steps. I think like, because they're old courses, like, so I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of factors involved in it. A list is still, I mean, this is a big list, right? So
right.
If we have a good course and a good launch, like, there's no reason to think that it can't work. I mean, maybe it won't be as effective as before, but I mean, people are still doing launches and they're still doing well with them. So I don't know. There's definitely a way to make this work for sure.
I got to drop off here. I have a call. So I'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.
Well, I guess we should do our thoughts.
Yep, we should. My wife's texting me saying, "Can you come help me when you're done?" So, yeah, let's do some thoughts.
I got to think about mine.
I mean, the big thing for me this week has been just, you know, I took a couple weeks. You know, I did a bunch of work on Podwrench, but I didn't record any podcasts or anything. And then I took a week off and didn't work at all. Well, I think, like I said, I handled like 2 things. And I think sometimes you just have to, you know, you have to give yourself permission to crash, to get some downtime. And it was hard. And, you know, a lot of the issues that I had to deal with that I didn't, you know, I didn't handle them while I was gone, and they didn't go away while I was gone. But I have increased capacity to deal with it just because of that. You know, same thing with yesterday. My wife, I think it was for my birthday, which is in December. So that tells you how long it took me to redeem a Groupon. But she got me a massage, and I'd never had one before. But, you know, I went down, I got the massage done. It was funny because I came back and, you know, I'd heard people talk about massages and they're like, oh, they're so relaxing and blah, blah, blah. And basically for me, it turned out to be an hour of downtime where I wasn't really thinking about much. And I walked out of there not feeling a whole lot different from when I walked in. And then I don't know what it was, but it was like it sunk in about an hour or 2 afterward. Then I was really relaxed. Then I felt really good. And, you know, and I've let that carry through. Of course, I'm going to undo all that work tomorrow because I'm landscaping tomorrow. But, you know, it's that kind of thing where it's, you know, take a break, go do something different, you know, whether it's something you enjoy, like the programming, or just, you know, being around other people, if that's what you do. I mean, played a bunch of board games with the family and just took it easy, you know. 4th of July, same thing, you know, took the whole day off. I woke up with a tension headache, so I did sleep in a bunch because I was trying to get that to go away. But, you know, we went and did the fireworks, we did a barbecue with the neighbors and all of that stuff. And again, you know, it's just having that space, having that margin so that I can focus on the stuff that I need to focus on when I need to focus on it. And sure, I'm probably going to be pulling an all-nighter tonight, or, I'm going to be working relatively late to get a lot of this stuff done so that I can fulfill what DigitalOcean wants. But the flip side of that, too, is that I wouldn't have agreed to it if I didn't want to deliver it for all my other sponsors. And it's an added value for them. So, anyway, all of that said, just take some time, take a breather. Not everything you think is critical. And yeah. It doesn't have to be so hard, and you don't have to be on top of everything all the time.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a good point. Let me see. I guess what I'd say is that one thing I've been kind of focusing on that's been helping me to just like to have a lot more motivation is to have at least something that you're making advancement on every single day,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I started waking up early. I've been this week actually because of 4th of July and everything. But I'm still continuing to run 5 miles every single day, which I started this is like the 13th or 14th day in a row, which I know I'm making progress on like every single day. So just having that kind of keeps me going. And then, when I was doing the scheduling for the Pomodoro technique again and getting back into it, it's like I'm constantly making progress every day, even if it's small progress, and that just keeps me motivated and keeps me going. Whereas I think it's really easy to like get lost and to feel a sense of like hopelessness when you don't have something that you're making progress on. So always have something that you're moving forward on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that was a lot of, because again, when I spent that week working on Podwrench, I think that was part of what worked for me too, was just that I was making progress on something that I knew I needed to get done.
Yeah.
And I gave myself the space to do it. And, whereas, I record a podcast every week, but it doesn't feel like I'm making progress on something because it's continuous. It's ongoing. There's no real end to it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think I got that benefit too, just taking the time to do something that I knew was going to pay off.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess this is it. See you next time.
Yeah, see you in a week.
All right, Chuck. Take care, man.
Bye. You too.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to John, Josh, and Derek as we figure it out. We are the Entre Programmers, and we'll teach you straight up.